Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group on YouTube. Today we have another WCW Monday Nitro episode review. We're going to episode 2. Last week I done the debut episode of WCW Nitro as a review, and we got some really good views, so we thought why not carry it on, have a little watch of episode 2, do another review and see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. So Night 2 was on September 11th, 1995, and it was held in Miami, Florida. Wasn't inside the shopping mall this time. Shock. I did enjoy that though. Opens with a clip, obviously, from last week. We had the debut of Lex Luger, and him and Hogan got into a heated debate at the end of the main event. And Hogan versus Luger for the WCW World Championship was booked for this episode. So if you haven't watched the debut episode yet, feel free, go back through the videos, check that out, and then come back and watch this so you know where you're up to. So in the very first match of the night, we have Sabu making his WCW debut in the ring, and he's versus Alex Wright. So like I said last week, the show itself runs an hour. With the adverts, it's like 45 minutes, so the matches are never long at this moment in time. Obviously, it's brand new, it's just starting out, and they only had an hour time slot, which obviously later grows, so the matches get longer and a bit better. But, we're faced with between 3 and 4 matches a week, so the matches are like less than 6 minutes, all in. So, I mean, it's a decent match for what it is, although Sabu actually looks quite banged up at this. I don't know in what stage in his career he came into WCW, so I don't, obviously for Nitro, I don't know whether or not he'd already literally just previously been in ECW. It looks that way, he's already got a big plaster on his shoulder, and just the way he's walking around a bit, he does look like he's already in quite a bit of pain. He's already injured, if you like. He's carrying some sort of injuries, so unfortunate, but I don't really think it takes away from the match, which lasts like 4 minutes, you know what I mean. So Sabu controlled most of the match. We had a couple of spots to the outside. Even Alex Wright hit a move or two from the outside as well. But yeah, I mean, we literally get Sabu rolls. He does like a hurricanrana with his legs on right, over the ropes to the outside, and then obviously he jumps on him to the outside, and then they get back in the ring. I mean, like I say, it's 4 minutes. It's really hard for them to be able to do a hell of a lot. Like, some people can obviously tell a full story in 4 minutes, others can't. So basically the finish is Alex Wright gets laid on the table, Sabu comes off the rope through the table, the match is called a DQ, and Sabu loses to Alex Wright in his debut match. So, like I say, 4 minutes. It was an okay match. It was quite decent. Like I say, we got a couple of high spots. It wasn't as good as the opening match of last week, which Flying Brian Pillman won. But and the fact that I know Sabu's famous for the table spotlight, but he could have really saved that till after the match, and then he wouldn't have been disqualified and lost his debut. But a DQ finish to open the night isn't really a strong start. But like I say, match wasn't too bad for the 4 minute, and Sabu got to show a little bit of what he can do. Then we got Ric Flair comes to the ring, cutting a promo on Anderson, because obviously he returned. I keep saying debut now. He returned the week before to fight off Ric Flair when Flair was facing Sting for the WCW United States Championship. So obviously Ric Flair's talking about Arn, talking about the Four Horsemen, and then Lex Luger comes down, which I thought was strange. He comes down, so then Flair obviously switches his attention to Luger. Luger gets in the ring and basically says, Rick, you talk too much. And that's pretty much it. So then he disappears. And then Flair's promo ends. It was just sort of weird. It just didn't seem to make any sense. Like, And Luger just debuted, and obviously ring gear to come out in his ring gear. Didn't sorry, debuted. I keep saying debuted now. I'm excited. He comes down to the ring to confront Ric Flair in his trunks, which is mad. I know he's got a match later on, but there we go. So I didn't think anything of that at all. It was a bit odd. Like, it started okay, Flair versus Hansen, talking about the Four Horsemen, and then Lex Luger comes down and says, "You talk too much." So anyway, next up we have our second match of the night, and it's Sting versus VK Wall Street for the WCW United States Championship, which lasts 4 minutes and 13 seconds. Again, not a very long match, and second week in a row Sting is defending the WCW United States Championship. Obviously this was back as Surfer Sting, so he had the green paint and the green pants today, with the short blonde hair. So yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Like, I love Sting as a wrestler. I think he's phenomenal, and the fact that he reinvents himself is brilliant. And obviously I love the Crow Sting. Who doesn't love Crow Sting? But I really do love Surfer Sting as well, the original. So it is hard, but I enjoyed. That's why I like it so much, because I can go back and I can watch the early day stuff, rather than always being the Crow. I can go back and obviously watch when he done the Surfer style, gimmick style. So again, good match. Can't really do a lot with 4 minutes. That's the issue that they were having at this moment in time. Is obviously you don't want to just do 2 matches and have them 20 minutes each. You want to try and get as many of your stars on TV as possible, especially when it's something fresh and something new. Trying to do it all in one go, 4-minute matches, they're not the best. You're not going to get a hell of a lot out of them. Obviously Sting starts the match off strong, being the champion. Lost where I want to. I've completely lost where I want to. Yeah, so that VK ends up dominating for a little while, drops him out. I say dominating for a little while, he's not really dominating, because like I say, it's like a 4-minute match. So he then gains the upper hand for a minute, drops a couple of elbows, does a little bit of something, a couple of clotheslines, Sting hits a big strong clothesline, then hits the Stinger splash, goes up top rope, hits a top rope crossbody, gets the pin, and retains the US title. So I'm happy with this, because obviously, you got Sting defending the belt on Nitro. Sting picks up the win, because obviously last week the match gets stopped, because Arn Anderson come down and stopped the match. So I'm glad that, although Sting's having to defend the belt again, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Especially in the early doors, you want to put your belt on the line as much as possible to get people to tune in. But he actually gets a victory this time, and it's not just, interference. So I'm really happy in that outcome. We get an advert then next for WCW Saturday Night. Before we move on to Macho Man Randy Savage versus Scott Norton, obviously they had the confrontation in the very first episode. So now we have the match in the second episode, and probably the longest match and the best match of the night. The longest match only runs to 5 minutes 39 seconds. So Savage has obviously come down to the ring, gets up on the ropes to get into the ring, and then Norton beats him down, and then the bell sounds anyway. So the match starts obviously with Norton in control, which is pretty cool. He's showing off his strength. He's hitting like power slams, hitting strong clotheslines. We get Savage jumping off the top rope to the outside with a double axe handle on Norton. He goes back up to the ropes to come and hit him again with another one when they're inside the ring, and Norton catches him again, showing his strength and the fact that he's a bigger guy than Savage. He starts then to dominate. Like say, hits him with a backbreaker, hits him with a power slam, manages to get a 2 count. Pulls Savage from the ring apron onto the top rope, sort of like what Randy Orton does, where he pulls him through the middle rope and hits him with a DDT. Shree pulls him over the top rope with his feet obviously hanging on the ropes and hits him with a DDT, which I thought was pretty cool. And probably, to be fair, probably the the move of the match. See, it was good. It looked like Scott Norton held his own against Randy Savage, which is what you want in the match. You know, heel attacks him at the beginning. Obviously, the heel attacks at the beginning to set the match up, starts to take some control, and then Savage is obviously going to come back and get the big win. The strange and weird way they ended this match, it was just, I just thought it was terrible. It was a really poor finish. Good match, but poor finish. So obviously you've got the, what were they called, the Dooms, the Dungeon of Doom, the faction of Dungeon of Doom. We've seen them last week. Obviously it's leading up to the pay-per-view. So the Dungeon of Doom run down, and I think he was called Shark back then in WCW. I couldn't quite make it out on commentary his name. I should have really looked into it. The guy who done Avalanche, you know, he's all dressed in shark gear. So I'm going to call him Shark anyway. He goes to get in the ring. Norton gets Irish whipped over. Somehow manages to knee him in the head. So then Shark falls on Norton's legs because he's knocked out by this knee. And as he falls, he takes Norton down, lands on his legs, stays on his legs. Norton can't get off because, you know, he's too big. Referee doesn't interfere, just says it's fine. Macho Man goes up on the top rope, hits an elbow drop off the top rope and gets a 3 count. But there's someone pinning his legs down basically and stopping him from, you know, getting up and getting out the way. So Macho Man comes off with his lovely elbow drop that he does, gets the 3 count, rolls up the ring and buggers off. He's got his win and he's not staying around to get beaten on. So quite smart by Savage. But yeah, just obviously they come to run interference, probably to jump Savage. Ends up costing Norton the match by keeping his legs held down. Like how that isn't a disqualification, I don't know. Like I say, builds up to the pay-per-view show. Not overly bothered by the interaction, obviously, with the Dungeon of Doom. I just thought it was funny the way he just rolls and basically he gets kneed in the head, falls in onto Norton's legs, and then just lies there like he's conked out while he eats an elbow drop and a pinfall and he can't get up. But yeah, like I say, probably the match of the night. Made both guys look strong, to be fair. Norton showing his power, and obviously Macho Man is, well, he's Macho Man, isn't he? Then we have the main event coming up next. Like I say, it's only a 45-minute show, so it is literally straight away. And we get an advertisement for WCW Fall Brawl War Games before the match starts, obviously leading into the pay-per-view. This is what the first 2 Monday Night shows are building up to, is obviously the pay-per-view. So it is Hulk Hogan with Jimmy Hart versus Lex Luger for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which obviously we found out last week was going to happen tonight as the main event. So both guys start trying to feel each other out. You know, we get a couple of lockups, side headlock, reverse side headlock from the other dude. You know, trying to show that they're both pretty equal. We have Lex Luger hitting a suplex onto Hogan, first we had Hogan hit the suplex on Luger. Luger pops straight back up. Luger hits the suplex on Hogan. Hogan pops straight back up. So it's that type of thing for the first couple of minutes. They're trying to feel each other out, both trying to do a test of strength, you know, who's the better guy, headlocks and all that. You know, suplex jumps up and he's like, "Rrr." Suplex jumps up and then he goes, "Rrr," and the crowd are feeling it. They're into it. You know, it's showing that both guys are pretty much equals. You know, Lex Luger then puts Hogan into the torture rack, you know, the rack. He starts getting him there. Look like that he might win by submission. You know, it's obviously Hogan starting to phase. The ref starts doing the arm drop. You know, 1, 2, goes for the 3rd time. Hogan keeps his arm up, but obviously because of the torture rack position, Hogan's behind Luger. So Luger can't see it. He just knows that, you know, the ref's checking on him. He knows it's the 3rd time. He's expected to have won. Drops Hogan, goes off into the corner like, "Wee." Referee's like, "You didn't win." And he's like, "What? You didn't win. It was a 2. You know, 2 counts." So anyway, Luger realises quickly, jumps onto Hogan to make the cover, only gets 2 counts. Hogan obviously does a strong push out, and then we get the usual Hulk Hogan Hulk up, you know, the whole gets hit on the head, and he's like, no, he's got my ring, not that, you know, same old Hogan as we've seen for how many years. He does the big boot, hits the leg drop, and then we get the Dungeon of Doom come down again, causing another disqualification. So, although it doesn't bother me the way they've done the end of this match, you know, both guys are strong. You want to keep Luger strong after his debut, but you want to keep the belt on Hogan. Obviously, you don't want one of them to turn heel. You want to focus on someone else, or who else to have it against. Obviously, Hogan, Savage, Sting, and Vader was to face the Dungeon of Doom at War Games. It makes sense to have them come down, spoil the match. So obviously neither one of them loses, but obviously Hogan keeps the belt. I was alright with that. I was happy with that. But you know what? It should have been the only DQ of the night. You know, you've got 4 matches that average amount in a total to about 20 minutes, and you've got 2 disqualifications in the same night. One in the first match, one in the last. So, like I say, I think that Sabu table spot could have happened after the match, maybe. But, you know, it is what it is, and we got 2 disqualifications out of 4 matches. A little bit annoying. Like I say, and I do feel that does take away something from the main event when it ends in a second disqualification. But, nevertheless, I thought this was done quite well. Like I say, Dungeon of Doom come down, then Sting runs down, Macho Man runs down, you know, they fight off the Dungeon of Doom, then they're all in the ring, and Hogan's giving it the big one, and he's saying to Lex Luger, basically, which side are you on? Are you with them? Because when the Dungeon of Doom come down and started attacking, they only attacked Hogan. They never attacked Luger. So he's like, whose side are you on? You know, are you with them? What's going on? Why didn't they touch you? So then Macho Man's giving it the beans as well. Don't trust you and all that. So anyway, Sting's like, look, Vader's buggered off. He's not in the match anymore. We need a 4th guy. We can't do 4 on 3. We need 4 on 4. I say we get the total package, Lex Luger. So then, you know, obviously Lex is all for it. So Macho Man's not. Shock. Savage isn't for it. Savage says no. He says, I vote no. Sting says, I vote yes. Jimmy Hart gets on the mic and says, you know, we need 4 on 4, blah, blah, blah. Turns around to Hulk Hogan and basically says, you know, it's all on you to take the pick. What you think? So then Hogan says, yes, we'll have him in the match. He says, you know, we want to test you, we want to see whose side you're on, you know, we're all going to be in the cage together, brother. So obviously Lex then, he goes over to Lex and Lex says, you know, I'll join the team, I'll help you fight them if you still give me this title shot that I'm supposed to have further down the line. So obviously they shake hands and then they go off into the sunset. So obviously it leads into the pay-per-view, so it does make sense. Then you're going to have obviously the Dungeon of Doom versus Team Hogan, Sting, Macho Man, and now Lex Luger as well. Like, I'm happy with the way it ended. I think it ended well. Like, say, the main event, you know, the matches aren't long, but the main event was decent. You know, kept both guys looking strong. Both guys got to use the finishes. Neither one of them took a loss. And then obviously it builds into the pay-per-view as well with the other faction running down. And obviously then Hogan and Luger joining forces to face them at the pay-per-view. So again, another strong start to WCW Nitro, shall we say, with episode 2. Like I say, it's not, obviously you can't be given 10 out of 10s for 4 or 5 minute matches. I mean, I won't. I mean, I don't know if you will, because obviously everyone's different, but for me, you can't really give like 10 out of 10. But I'd probably say it's another solid 10 out. I'll probably say it's a 7 out of 10. You know, I don't feel like we needed 2 disqualifications out of 4 matches. And obviously Scott Norton versus Macho Man was probably the best match tonight, which again had another screwy finish, you know, with Norton being trapped under the big dude to take the loss. So maybe that one should have been a DQ. You know, Sting at the middle match and looked solid, retain the belt. Obviously, like I say, going into War Games, it's all a build up to War Games, isn't it? It's all all the build up to the match. And to be fair, it's done pretty well. It's just, I feel like they could have separated some things. We've obviously not had 2 disqualifications out of 4 matches. Probably not had, a big dude fall on Norton's legs. And not get a DQ, which is weird. But yeah, I mean, pretty solid all in all. We get to see the big stars, and that's what we want, isn't it? Especially back when you've only had 45 minutes of TV. You want to see your Savages, your Stings, your Hogans, your Lugers, your Flairs. Even though Flair wasn't in the match, he still done a promo. So yeah, I'd say 7 out of 10 for me. Good, pretty solid. Would go and watch it again. So, like I say, if you haven't seen it yet, go onto the WWE Network or on Peacock, as it is in the US and other countries. It's still WWE Network here. Have a look through. Go on to In Ring. You'll be able to see the WCW. You can click on Nitro and you can watch them all from the very beginning, which is what I am doing now. So, as always, thank you for watching. Give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe to my YouTube videos. Let me know in the comments what you thought of episode 2 of WCW Monday Nitro. And as always, keep an eye out for more wrestling related content coming soon.